Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Come to you live from our comfy couch here in the outskirts, and it's the Gaming Saloon Reviews for April 27th, 2025, with your host, Peacemaker 244, and Ram Epsilon.
Hi.
It's more Fuuto PI. It's another third of Fuuto PI. Well, times where I'm just like, right, this is really short. We only get like 3 weeks out of this if the Skull movie didn't get subbed. Which, just so folks know, I'm not watching the Skull movie until we do it for TGSR. Usually I'll have watched some stuff before we do it on TGSR for this one. No, I'll wait. Hopefully the movie's good.
I think that might actually be the first time that we'll have done that. Wouldn't it?
Both of us not seeing something like that. Stuff like Kamen Rider Black and the Showa era Rider, neither one of us have saw that going in.
True.
But yeah, it is 5 through 8. Tune into the pre-show to hear us talk about the show overall, to be honest. Because we had plenty to say about the show overall. We'll probably repeat it next week or in 2 weeks.
I don't hate it. I just don't think I could have watched this week to week kind of deal.
Yeah.
It is not a good show kind of deal.
I see the reasons why this thing took a while to even get a movie, let alone a second season.
It almost feels like it's wrote to be better binge kind of deal. Which is not horrible, but it's not good when you're dealing with shows either.
Yeah. Especially if set format that you release the show in is weekly instead of a binge.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts before we get into our batch of episodes?
No, because I mean, there again, yes, that's a negative thing, but that's honestly the only real negative I have with it.
Yeah. But we will kick off with episode 5, The Terrible M, The Sound of a Leak. So we pick up the Terror Week, cleaning up some of the goons from the gang from the end of Double. One of them, oddly enough, looks like one of the cast members from Zyuohger, which I don't think would have been airing at the time. But it was, I think they're voiced by that actor, or at least their suit actor, which is the funny part. But yeah, he takes them down, and then he gets called in by, I presume, I think it might have been Philip that called him in about the case, since Megu, our idol, has recovered, but Shotaro is on the sidelines because, oops, injuries related to memories cannot really be healed by medicine, have to go the long way. Which feels like the first time we've ever heard something like that.
It is. Because I think in the show it was always just assumed that they didn't go anywhere because of the fact that, no one knows they're a rider. Which we could have used that same logic here.
Yeah. I do love at the end of this second episode, they're like, do keep our secret about who we are as a writer. And I'm like, bitch, half this town knows you're a fucking writer. Who are you keeping the secret from? The police know you're a writer because Terry. Like, everyone that walks into your office is basically knows you're a writer unless they are not there for a memory case, which is like, I don't know, most of your loadout.
Well,
unless it's you finding lost cats.
I was going to say that we've seen. We don't get to see all the lost cat clients, so.
Yeah.
Which it would be immensely funny if even some of them know.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even get into the conversation of every writer you've ever interacted with maybe carrying that forward to whoever else they interact with.
Yeah, but
which this show doesn't get in.
That's a code of writers kind of deal.
Look, this show references X specifically. Out of any writer it could have referenced that is not related to Double, they referenced X in a gag bit at the end of one episode. I haven't recapped those gag bits from the end of the episode, but there's a gag bit at the end of every episode, and one of them has literally X show up for a gag. But anywho, Terry and Philip are now together. Philip's taking over the case since Shotaro's dying slowly. They confer on what to do next. Philip does blow off Tokime once more because they're on the outs at the moment. We do find out that the guy behind this and the guy that's using the Dopont memory his username is Murder. I will refer to him as Murder because I don't remember his name and I don't care.
And he's really unimportant after this arc anyhow, so.
Yep.
Because just putting this out there, murder gets murdered.
Mm-hmm. I worded that way in the notes as well. But Aurora drops by to be like, hey, you do a cool thing with your Dopont memory. Maybe you could be a part of my city. And then the Murder gets informed that the cops are after him, and so the two bail, which leads to Terry going, well, somebody's leaking this information. And Tokime, or the team tries to circle the wagons on that, only for the manager to drop by and be like, nope, she has to attend an event. And this upsets Megu, and Tokime is now suspicious of him. Which drags Shotaro out of bed slowly to comfort her and Tokime and kind of like give them a pep talk, and then start dying again because, oh god, this might be the worst he's ever been injured. Yeah, besides getting turned old for like a couple episodes, this might be the worst he's ever been injured. Or no, the double maximum drive for early in the series. I think that might be worse. It's like the third worst he's ever felt on the job. But Tokime goes to confront the manager and finds out, oh, he's looking for the leak as well. And it explained everything to Tokime off screen that we'll find out later. And the two of them find out, oh, one of Mega's like assistant team people was leaking because she had beef with her because she didn't appreciate the job she was in. And she didn't like that. That's not the most interesting thing going on here. Unfortunately, Murder's already been told, and because of taking a supplement before using his Dopont memory, he can now spawn little mini bug guys to go swarm the hospital that they're in. So now it's a race to go save Megu. Tokime makes it, losing part of her clothing in the process. And actually hops onto Murder as he's trying to fly away, and that leads them to a park, which thankfully Philip spotted them and ran there as Terry arrives to protect Akiko. She also mentioned that Akiko helps Philip get through his beef because she was like, you are jealous of Tokime because she got close to Shotaro really quickly and it took you a while to get there. But yeah, Philip shows up and is like, oh, I can go double too. And we get Fang Joker before the episode ends. Which I guess they kind of write off that Philip or that Shotaro being injured doesn't really matter for this. I thought that would be a problem. Because it wasn't that a problem for like when Shotaro got turned old for the episodes in Double? Okay. I kind of remember it being the case. So I'm like, oh, Shotaro should be pulling Philip back because, you know, he's dying, but I guess we're just gonna not worry about that. Anyway, on to episode 6, The Terrible M, White Fangs. Basically, the first half of this episode is Philip and Shotaro styling on this guy because, once more, this is a several-year season double. Even if this Dopon has some fancy trick, it's only going to give him, like, a 5-second advantage. That is quickly just destroyed. So, they easily take him out. Philip does ask Megu to keep the secret about Double, like we said earlier. And Megu's like, take care of Shotaro. He could use people to look after him. And this gets in this nice little explanatory gag of like, oh, Shotaro heard this entire conversation. And he's upset that he's like, oh, no, I can handle myself.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Later on, we find out that the manager was trying to protect Megu from like upper management taking advantage of her, and this got him fired after he got an argument about it. And so now he's leaving to go start a new studio and make a new game. And Megu's like, I'm going with you because fuck it. We started this game, we can start another one. Which ain't that just how the industry goes right now?
Yep.
It's like the most on point thing here of like, oops, the big brains of a video game get like dunked on by upper management. They fuck off to go make their own studio and their own game. But back at the office, Togame gets some new clothes, which apparently are anime original and aren't really that far off from her clothes normally.
Yeah.
But she gets her own stack phone now that is pink because reasons. Honestly, it just makes me go, why does Philip not have his own colors for the stack phone?
Good question.
Because him and Shotaro have identical stack phones, but Togame is the one with the pink one now. Also, Philip learns about Yaoi. Because Akika was like, oh, men can love men. And Philip decided to go down the rabbit hole, and it's like, oops. Philip has learned about Yaoi now. I'm sure this everything will turn out fine, I'm sure. But we end the episode with Terry trying to go interrogate Murder, only to find out he's been turned to bones! Because Zora's like, I'm keeping you around, bye. And murked him and then fucked off. So how do you feel about our first half ending off our, like, second of 3 arcs in this show?
I don't understand the point of our villain.
To be honest, I don't know either, but it also doesn't help that we're not getting an answer to that in this show.
Because like that's the big thing. It's like, okay, why do you exist? and no answer. Outside of that, I mean, this is par for the course for what I would expect out of something for Double. And I'm also sitting here kind of wondering, you know, for the most part, couldn't we just have this without some big bad looming in the back? Would literally any of these that we've had so far really change anything?
No. Because we've long established that Dopant memories are just floating about in Fuuto because of the collapse of the museum.
I mean, this could have started in a sense of they were doing random cases that on the surface looks like nothing connects them.
Mm-hmm.
Still could have had our bad guy being looming in the background, just randomly appearing, kind of deal. Maybe not even interacting with anyone involved. Just kind of being like, hey, I'm here. That would have been enough to have tied something in if they wanted to do a big bad. This, it almost feels like we've got this villain here that we know nothing about, but we should know something about, but the show won't tell us anything about, so we're like, what?
Yeah, because we're not going to get to that point in the manga. It's going to entirely rely on the show getting more seasons to adapt more of the manga to get to that point, and all of that relies on this show getting enough views to warrant getting a second season made for the show, which gets just circular at that point of just like, well, if the show does good enough, we're not going to get that information. But we need that information for the show to feel good and successful.
That's why I'm like, I feel like we should have relegated to teaser at best.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we should know more about. I'm gonna assume the main villains, because I'm assuming he's not working alone.
Yes, there are 3 more.
So I mean, it's one of those. It's baffling on how that's done when looking at double proper. That not done that way.
Mm-hmm.
We see our final villains, but we also kind of get a little bit about them as we're going. It's not really till the end that we get a lot.
Yeah.
They're just kind of there in the background saying, hey, yeah, we're here. We kind of are the reason for all of this. That's all I'm kind of expecting out of this. And it's like, and maybe get some trickle as to, okay, get something more than what we're getting right now of, he's from Mirror Fuuto. And we don't know anything about that either.
Yeah. We have spent literally the next 2 arcs doing nothing about Mirror Fuuto.
I'm like, it's one of those, I'm just like, I don't understand that. We introduced so much new.
Mm-hmm.
That almost feels like that should have been the focus point of it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not, I'm sitting here and I'm like, couldn't we have just done this as they were solving random cases then?
Yeah.
And then maybe, say, 4 or 5 cases in, they start realizing there's a connection to all of these.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we could have had all the development. That's when we could have been introduced to our final villain. All of that. It gets back to the pacing of arcs too. It feels like the pacing's just all over the place with this. Like we're not locked into, we're gonna try to tell something cohesively. We're gonna split it in weird segments.
Yeah. Like everything's written as a hour to hour and a half movie, but then it gets broke into 3 episode segments. I almost guarantee if you edited all of these arcs together into one single form, it plays better.
Oh, I could almost imagine. And I think that's what baffles me more with it. Because watching the 4-episode batches, I felt better with it.
Yeah.
But honestly, we're still watching it in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting the hype built up, and then it's like, oh, no, now it's time for us to stop. Whereas with everything else that we've been doing 4-episode batches with, it's kind of worked.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's even made it better.
Yeah.
I feel like this isn't making it better, but it's not making it worse either. I feel like, granted, of course, I also feel like the only way that this would probably be better is to literally binge watch everything at the same time. But
yeah. Like, I feel weird because I've also seen like Fuuto PI separate on people's tier list for like ranking writer stuff, and I'm like, I don't really feel like ranking it differently because I'm like, this is too tight to Double in concept to really separate it, because it's basically written as a continuation of Double. So why would I rate it differently than Double? Even if it's in an anime form, it basically is acting like we're just continuing the story of Double. We're just doing things to get you caught up since we're in a new medium.
I hate saying it though. I don't feel like it's right to link this directly to Double though.
Yeah.
In terms of writing quality and really even storytelling right now. I'm not saying that any of the arcs are bad, but when we have no cohesive overall and we're 2/3 of the way through the currently released episodes is how I'm gonna put it. That kind of that feels bad.
Yeah, granted, I usually don't separate out all the different movies in V cinemas and this, that, and the other unless it's a very specific standalone project. Then I'm like, okay, you get to be separate, but here I'm like,
I'm usually of the mindset where if it's within the show's continuity, then it's fine to count it with it. This is that weird exception where I'm almost like, you know what? Yes, it should kind of be counted with it.
yeah.
But if I treat it that way, then that brings Double down too, and I don't think that's fair to Double.
No.
So that's where I'm like, huh.
I'm trying to think where I would even put it if I did parse it out, because like it's definitely not staying with Double. I'm almost willing to say I drop it. It ends up maybe in the bottom tier of my favorites because I still like it, but like it's not, sticking up any higher.
To me, I think it would either be in the same group as Double is, just lower in that group, or it would be at like the top of the group below Double kind of deal.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, because it's not bad, it's just it's bad because it's not complete. It's not bad because it's bad.
Yeah. I feel like I would probably feel better about this if we had at least an ongoing, currently running fan translation of the manga, or even an official English translation of the manga, and we don't have that on either front. It just doesn't exist. People have translated like the first 12 chapters of it, I think, but have not gone further than that. Like hell, a new arc of the manga has started, and guess who they've resurrected from the dead?
Who?
Baby. Nazca is back in the manga. Maybe. We don't know the full context on why he's alive, but he seemingly is alive and is talking to Shotaro in one panel that's gotten out there. And I'm like, hello, Memory of Heroes plot point. Because that's a plot point of Memory of Heroes. Thank you. I guess anything else before we hit the back end?
No.
All right. Episode 7, Close K, the dynamic duo deserted. A bomb cyclone has blown into Fuuto, and it brings with it a nasty blizzard. And Shotaro and Philip have been caught out in the mountains because Philip wanted to go mushroom hunting for these specific kind of mushrooms. And Shotaro was like, all right, sure, that's fine. I'm totally not going to look at a weather report before we go. Oops, we're caught in a blizzard. Piss.
Which, if anyone has watched Double, yes, this exactly would happen.
I look at the situation, I'm like, this is exactly this, all of this is in character.
Yep.
My only question is, where did they park the hard-boileder? Because I assume they took the hard-boileder there.
Maybe?
It's not in the Revolve Gary when they leave. Unless, I don't think it was outside when we saw the outside of the agency.
Yeah, but we never see it either. So that's one of those maybe?
Like, I'm gonna pull up the episode real quick and double check when they show outside the agency. Yeah, no, it's not outside the agency. So presumably the two of them took it. Which I also have to ask, wait, you took that, but you didn't take it in the flight form to make the trip faster.
No, they were going to take a day off, remember?
Right.
Why make it quicker?
That doesn't mean you have to fly there and fly back. You could go anywhere. Anywho. The pair caught up in the mountains, freezing to death. Meanwhile, Tokime, Akiko, and Teruya are in the office. Akiko's writing up some stuff, I guess, for Tokime in the journal, and she writes a note of, my husband is a bike, and Tokume's like, she must think he rides a bike, and I'm like, you poor fool, you.
No, he is the bike.
I love that they set up this bit, and everyone who's watching this show knows it's like, oh, Tokime, you have no idea. Whereas everyone else who doesn't know is just like, you know what? She's probably right.
What's bad is I saw that and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh right, he does.
Yeah, yeah, that thing he doesn't do very often.
That was the thought I had. It was like, oh wait, yeah, he does. Oh, okay. Because it's bad when they're like, yeah, no, that's too much budget for every time we want that, so no, we're not doing that often. Meanwhile,
over here in the anime, they're like, oh yeah, that's all the same budget, pretty much.
Yeah, doesn't change anything.
Yeah. But Terry informs the pair of the murder of murder. So they're in the loop on that now. Meanwhile, Philip and Shotaro get saved by some girl wearing white and is brought to a fancy mansion. Said girl then tells them, do not say anything about seeing my face or knowing my name. Bye. At which point they get introduced to the owner of this mansion, who's basically Scrooge McDuck's levels of rich. Is the vibe I get every time they talk about how rich this man is. I'm like, he is Scrooge McDuck rich. Got it. The man is stupid loaded. But we also see his grandma, their butler, who I pretty sure gets 2 lines in these entire 2 episodes and is basically pointless.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah.
And then 4 random girls that I will just talk and say their color because that is about all we need to know to distinguish them. So we've got white, we have red, we have blue, and we have black. And I am saying black even if you've watched the episodes because it's like, wait, she's also blue. No, she is black because I'm not distinguishing 2 blues. Also, I'm pretty sure they also refer to her clothes as black in the
Yep, they do.
one of these 2 episodes. So it's just a shading choice. But yeah, it's some weird blind date weekend the pair have found themselves in the middle of to determine which of these 4 girls will marry Scrooge McDuck over here. The pair get to stay, but they have to wear masks too, and they get Luna Trigger colored masks because reference. Not only are they Luna and Trigger colored, they have green and purple gems in the center of them.
Yep.
Somebody knows who they are in this house, and surprise, it's the Aurora guy in his human form who the pair meet for 5 seconds and don't get a vibe check off of.
And who also, I think, gives a different name too.
Probably.
Because I'm pretty sure this is a second name.
I honestly do not remember. I just remember him as Aurora because I do not care to remember his name. Which is saying a lot about how much I care about this man as a villain.
Well, what gets me with that is, if I'm correct on that, and he has 2 different names that he has now told, then why aren't we finding out more about that?
Yeah. The 2 of them are busy solving a murder, which, now that I think about it, we never had this situation in Double ever, even though this is a classic mystery plot of detectives go on vacation or go somewhere. Oops, they're now in basically a 1 location like murder and have to solve it with basically going, well, everybody on premises is a suspect except us. Because I'm pretty sure that never happened in the show.
I think you're right.
Anyway, that night, Shotaro is trying to puzzle out the weird, dumb situation he has found himself in, only to run into White, who's like, please save me from being murdered, and then runs because she has anxiety or something. I don't know. She just does. And then Shotaro hears the crash later, and then he finds Blue impaled on a tree. And hey, look, we have a dopant here. And so Shotaro and Philip decide to fight him and almost get exploded because this is the alcohol dopant. Alcohol and fire do not mix well. Thankfully, they can try to turn that against him by going Heat Joker, and they set him ablaze. And the dopant's like, cool, I'm done now, bye, and fucks off. Because unfortunately, being the alcohol dopant means they have high pain tolerance. This dopant sounds like it has no good sides to it. It's like, up, you're always drunk, you have high pain tolerance, but it still takes. You are incredibly flammable. What is good about this dopant?
I mean, you missed the other negative. You can get alcohol poisoning from this one.
Oh yeah, that too. You can literally be killed by this memory by being too hot. And oops, you died to alcohol poisoning. This is like the most downsided dopant I think this show has ever created.
Yep.
Anyway, after the dopant runs off, the pair bring everybody into the loop and are like, we have to interview the girls because the most likely suspects is one of the 3 remaining girls. And so they proceed to interview them and get their names and ages. And again, I did not fucking bother to get to know any of this, of anyone's name or age or whatever their occupation was. Basically, White is like the most normal person here, and everybody else is involved in like the nightlife, nightclub scene, basically, to some extent. But Anyway, we end the episode with Shotro being like, well, nothing's standing out right now. And basically, the voiceover is future Shotro writing the report for this, being like, I wish I checked into White more because I would have stopped somebody else from being murdered. Oops. Granted, I don't think it would have helped that much. Anyway, episode 8, The Close K, A Chain of Malice. Shotaro runs into White again, tries to talk to her, but apparently she's suffering bouts of memory loss and can't really help them. Which makes Philip suspicious because, yeah, I'm sure that'd make anybody suspicious in the situation. I do like this little scene of Philip going, nobody in here makes a goddamn lick of sense. There is no logic here. And Shotaro's like, I get it. I can handle that. I need you to do the brain stuff, though. Also, if you're in the loop, guess what debuts in the first episode of Next Batch? They literally signpost using extreme in this situation, and I'm like, yeah, they're just gonna save the trump card for now because it's like, oh yeah, we need something to handle alcohol. But anyway, that night, Black is found dead in the bath by Red. Out of everyone that gathers up for this scene, White is missing, making her even more suspicious. More alcohol is even smelled at the scene, and Phillips noticed something on Black's body, which will lead him to figuring out stuff, and then him and Shotaro basically parse out the theory of like, well, it's not White, and Phillips like, yeah, figured that part out. And so they put a little plan into motion, which thankfully, they get a call saying, hey, backup's on the way, and the team's inbound. As soon as they dig their way through the tunnel with the Revolve Gary. I didn't even think the Revolve Gary could be used like that. I feel like it shouldn't, but they honestly don't have any other options. Also, Tokimei has a bad feeling about all of this. I'm assuming she's vibe checking Aura, because otherwise I don't know what she's vibe checking off of. But next day, White delivers a letter saying she's bowing out because she would like to not die. And this upsets Red because the guy shows that he was going to pick her. And then Red goes and tries to like confront White with the Delpont memory. Unfortunately, this White turned out to be Philip in disguise because once more this show has to... For some reason, even though it barely happened in the show, Philip has to be like, well, I have to dress up as a girl sometimes for cases. And I'm like, you did that probably once in the fucking show. I don't know why we're making this big deal about it. But yeah, he knocks the memory out of her hand, and then we see the real White there. And that's when we find out, well, this memory was first put in by White, and she didn't die from it, but she got hit with memory loss. Then it ended up in Blue's hands, and then she tried to use it, and it killed her. And then it ended up in Black's hands, and she was the one that impaled Blue on the tree, but she was dead already, so it doesn't count as a murder. Just counts as disgracing a body. Then she tried to kill Red in the bath. Unfortunately, she was too hot from the bath water and so got alcohol poisoning and died. So Red got the memory, and now Red has it. And if she used it, well, she probably would have died too, so. At this point, Aura's like, well, they figured out everything's going on. I'm gonna send some masquerades and fuck off, because why should I be involved in the plot of any of this show? At least I call them masquerades, even though they do point out that they're not like the masquerades that they were used to, which feels like a weird, arbitrary separation. Like, I'm not the only one that feels like that. Why bother on that? Oh, Tommy, you there? Hello? Anyway, Terry and Tug may finally open up a hole, and so the two of them take off on Terry's bike mode. I do appreciate Aki's like, oh yeah, hop onto my husband's bike mode and ride off. Not caring one little bit the implication of it, which means like, she would have been okay with Nadeshiko doing an ultimatum. But they take off, they arrive, they take out the masquerades. Unfortunately, another dopant shows up. This is Scream. She has high frequency blasts. So Terry's like, I'm just gonna go trial and fuck you up then. Unfortunately, our episode ends as the rest of the team heads into the mansion and finds out who our dopant is, but we don't get to see it until next time. And that is basically it. Any thoughts on the back end? Unless Tommy has fallen asleep on me. Oh no. But yeah, just I wish the show was paced better. Because I can almost guarantee you half of next week's episode, of the next batch's episode for the first one, is going to be, here's the double extreme debut. Here's it fighting, I'll call him beating it. And then the rest of the episode is going to be very slow wrap up of the case. And then we get our 3-episode finale. Hopefully Tommy wakes up here in a minute. Maybe. I will probably chop this bit out of the archive. I don't think I will do that for anything that's already up there, but I will probably do that for anything actively, just so y'all don't have to deal with the long silence and me stalling for time. And now I'm just getting through Reddit, seeing the leak stuff, since apparently like the 2.0 beta for Zenless is out, and so information and stuff has come out from it. Nothing really spoiler wise. I think I've seen more spoiler stuff for like future Honkai story stuff than I have for Zenless story stuff. Still need to schedule everything for Monday, because I unfortunately have not scheduled the streams from Monday just yet. But need to schedule that. Right now, Chrono Trigger is going up. The rest of that should go out, I believe, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I'm scheduling Saber after that. I have to double check. the order on things. Yes, I have to schedule Saber next. So that's like, yeah, it's the whole show and Trios, and schedule that. Oh, got me there?
Yep.
Okay. I got done with the recap. You had any thoughts on the back end of our Fuuto PI episodes?
I'm really hating that whole we're gonna drop the arc then patch kind of deal.
Yep. I also love how the show was just like, hey, we're introducing Double Extreme this arc. If you know. Just gonna be super on the nose about it.
Yeah. And to be fair, they did set up. They kind of did set up the stage for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess any other thoughts or anything?
No.
All right, in 2 weeks, we'll finish off Fuuto PI the show. And then 2 weeks after that, we will watch the Skull movie. And then we will be done with Fuuto PI, and then we're doing some version of video game adaptation roulette for TGSR. I haven't decided on which version we're going with. But between now and then, Thursday I'm doing Star Fox plus whatever else I feel like. Oh, I figured out the issue for retro achievements with Dolphin.
Okay.
It was some weird, like I wasn't apparently like logged in correctly, because I logged in today, or I logged out, logged back in today through Dolphin, and everything was procking properly, except Luigi's Mansion. But I knew Luigi's Mansion wouldn't proc.
Huh.
Because it requires the weird like European version of the game. But yeah, that's Thursday. Friday, it's Tales from the Cube with the Pikmins. But we'll see how much stuff we can get in one stream. I think we would get like at least a couple days in one stream for Pikmin.
Maybe.
I honestly don't know really how long the days are in Pikmin.
I don't either.
That's Friday. Saturday is the thing.
Randomania.
All right, we start Randomania with Archipelago. I was about to say I won't have Ace Attorney 2. I still haven't touched Ace Attorney 2 at all. I don't know what mine will be just yet.
Same.
And then next Sunday is TGS, where we'll talk about it's stuff. I know apparently the Last of Us 2 show hit the same point in the game at the same relative time, but the thing people complained about, and I'm like, I'm not surprised. Granted, I heard a stream, it's just like, oh yeah, they hit the thing too early, and I'm like, no, they didn't. This is exactly as when it happened in the game. Literally. Yeah, in 2 weeks we will be back with Fuuto PI. So if you like what you're seeing, folks, drop a follow. Really appreciate it. Exclamation point YouTube and chat gets you a link to the YouTube archive where this and all of our other streams will be going. Exclamation point Discord and chat is this our link, and exclamation point social and chat gives you the handles for all our social medias. Drop by, say hi. We'll see you Thursday, folks.